How's everybody doing? My name is Anthony Brian Logan, and today we got to talk about the New York Times switching their narrative from Russia to racism as it relates to the coverage of Donald Trump. Now, I got to back up a little bit here to explain what's going on and to give you some context so you understand why this is a story right now today. Apparently, there was an employee-only town hall. It was supposed to be private, no cameras or nothing like that were in the building, but apparently somebody recorded it, a transcript got out, and Slate published the details of the transcript. Dean Baquet, and hopefully I'm not butchering his name, but he is the executive editor of New York Times. He was the guy that was mentioned on Slate and other publications talking about the New York Times new direction. Now, we all know what happened with the whole Russia situation. Okay, you're talking about 2.5 years, $30 million, people getting arrested, locked up, subpoenaed, this, that, and the third, with no real outcome. A nothing burger, zero, much ado about nothing. That happened, and their coverage of Russia had to stop. You can't keep going down this road when the actual end game for your readers was to get Trump out of office. All right. When Bob Mueller gets up there and gives you nothing and is basically stuttering and stammering his way throughout the entire situation, your viewers are like, okay, like, what do we do now? I thought he was going to get impeached. I thought he was going to get removed. I thought he may be locked up, put in the gulag, making big rocks into little rocks. That ain't the case. So what am I going to do now? I'm not trying to hear the same old Russia narrative because that has been defeated on Capitol Hill in front of the entire world. The executive editor, Dean, he realizes what's happening. He realizes that the Russian narrative can't be used anymore. So in the actual meeting in front of all the employees, he says, okay, let's switch focus. Let's get away from Russia. And now let's get into racism, people's feelings in the country. We got to talk about Trump's rhetoric. Attack that, since we cannot attack the Russia thing anymore. So that lets you know that the New York Times is most certainly a biased paper. Is it about reporting facts, or is it about adhering to a certain ideology that is on the inside of the paper itself? He also mentioned in the transcript, which I will place in the box below, that employees would cheer when they would attack Trump, but they jeer, they almost boo when they would attack Joe Biden, even if it were a thing that were actually true. Talking about Joe Biden having poor debate performances. I mean, that's true. Anybody can see that. People that support Joe Biden, donors, backers, people in the Democratic Party even see that he's not doing a very good job. They see him as not really the face of the Democratic Party or the front runner. So if the Democrats see it, if many on the left see it, why is it a bad thing? Because their viewers, in my humble opinion, which seems to be the case, in fact, they want the New York Times to do nothing but attack Trump. Employees there want the same exact thing. I wonder how many of these employees have been hired since Trump got elected with the intended purpose of going to a paper that is going to attack Trump. I would not be surprised if many of them fit into that particular category. But for now, I digress. Now, is the New York Times by themselves in this situation by having a distinct and clear bias against Donald Trump? I don't think so. I mean, when you watch CNN, especially on primetime, Don Lemon, Chris Cuomo, Fredo, these people have a obvious bias. In the quote-unquote debate on CNN, Don Lemon was asking very loaded questions talking about, do you think Donald Trump's racist rhetoric will get in the way? Something along those lines. He called the rhetoric bad, racist, or whatever on the actual stage. He's supposed to be a moderator, but yet your questions are very loaded and very anti-conservative, anti-Trump, anti-right. So it's clear what they do. They're not really trying to hide it. I don't think that some transcript comments will come out from a CNN internal meeting and shock anybody. They probably wouldn't even deny it. They were like, yeah, we do have a certain political leaning. And so what? It is what it is. Now, I've not heard anybody from New York Times deny these links. They're got to be true. I'm pretty sure they are. One thing I got to talk about as some potential evidence for the link being 100% accurate is the video I did a while back, probably about 2 weeks ago, right around that, maybe a little bit less, about the headline they did. Remember that? The first headline was Trump urges unity versus racism. That was a beautiful headline, but then they changed it. The new headline said assailing hate, but not guns. Why did they change it? Well, I'm glad you asked. A lot of individuals on the left started shrieking. How can you say this? You know, we just had the mass shooting. It should be about gun control, this, that, and the third. People that are trying to become president, your AOC and your Beto O'Rourke and Kristen Gillibrand, they all came out against it, screeching on Twitter. How could you do this? You got to talk about guns, this, that, and the third. And they changed it gladly. Now, the take I had at the time was the first headline was great. They're saying that Trump was talking about unity and getting past all the division and hatred and racism. I thought it was a good headline, and I thought they were weak for changing the headline to what the left were pretty much forcing them to do. I still have some of that sentiment, but at the same time, I understand the context of the first headline. That's probably going to be a preview of their upcoming coverage into the actual election in 2020. Racism is what they want to push. The headline was not really positive. It was one to get you to talk about racism and Trump synonymously when you're reading the New York Times. You see what I'm saying? They want to mention racism and race and people of color and this, that, and the third all the time with Trump to put that into your brain. It's a form of programming. That's my humble opinion. So they had no problem really changing it because the people they're trying to attract and corral for subscriptions on their paywall service, which is the New York Times, they are the ones that said change it. So they're just trying to get them into the fold. That's all. They realized that the whole Russia gate was not going to work anymore with their liberal followers and people that subscribe to them. So they can't do that. So the next best thing to them would be to cover racism, to get these same people. And them same folks came out and said, no, that ain't it right now. Talk about guns. So we'll talk about guns. Whatever their subscribers want them to do, they'll do it. Whatever the left wants them to do, they'll do it. Whatever the leftist individuals that work there want them to do, they'll pretty much do it. And it's really a shame. You know, I think at one point the New York Times may have been a respected news source and newspaper, but not too much anymore. They have become nothing more than a glorified version of a supermarket checkout tabloid for the left. And that's pretty much all I got. What say you? Do you think that the New York Times is biased? If that's your viewpoint, let me know why in the comments below. Or are they not biased? Is the leak, is that false? Is it fake news? Do you not see the obvious bias coverage on New York Times? You all know where I stand. It's pretty clear that they are biased to the far left. It's simple, and they're not alone in this. You got CNN, MS13 NBC. The list goes on. They're all pretty much in the bag for the left. Huffington Post, they're all the same. People are starting to realize this more and more, and I'm not sure who leaked the actual memo. It could have been somebody that is on the left and want them to go more to the left, or it could have been somebody that is not really feeling the biased stuff. That could be more of a centrist, maybe even on the right. Either way it goes, these Americans are tired of the same old from the mainstream media, from the left, which is why many of them are coming over to the right. But whatever your comments are, please let me know in the comments below. And that's all I gotta say for this video. If you like what you heard, please comment, rate, share, and subscribe. Peace.